Well, good afternoon. It's Sunday, the 19th of April, and don't worry, I'm not just about to use this to give myself a haircut. I'm about to start cooking a curry, actually. Got some nice basa fillets, so I thought I'd talk to you while I was in the kitchen. We're continuing our series reflecting on those resurrection appearances of Jesus in John's Gospel. Yesterday, we heard about how Jesus appeared on the shore and spoke to the disciples who were there in a boat. And Peter knew exactly who it was who was standing there on the shore. And so he jumped into the water and he swam to Jesus, knowing that with Jesus he would only ever meet grace and forgiveness. They then have breakfast together. And after breakfast, as they're clearing away, Jesus says something to Peter that gets to the heart of his denial of Jesus a few days previously. Jesus leans in and says, "Simon, son of John," that was the name he used to be known by before Peter rechristened him, before Jesus rechristened Peter as Peter. Jesus says, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" And Peter responds, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you more than these." And tomorrow we'll look at how that conversation develops. But for today, I just want us to pause and think about just what was Jesus asking when he says, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" And in particular, who were the these that he was talking about? Was Jesus asking Peter, "Do you love me more than you love the disciples?" Or was he saying, "Peter, do you love me more than the others love me? Do you love me more than Matthew loves me? Do you love me more than John loves me?" Well, hang on a minute. How could that work? I mean, how could Peter know how much Matthew loves Jesus or how much John loves Jesus for a start? But also, how does that work with love, even? Love is a great many things. It's certainly about friendship, it's certainly about intimacy, it's certainly about relationship, but it's never about competition. Love is never a contest. It's about feelings, it's about choices, but it's not about rivalry. That's not love. So, what is Jesus asking then when he says, "Do you love me more than these?" Well, picture the scene for a minute. They're standing on a beach, they've had breakfast just after this miraculous catch of fish. John, the author of the Gospel, tells us there are 153 of them, so presumably they're still lying close by, probably dead by now. But as Jesus is asking Peter, a fisherman, the question, I think what he's asking about is not about whether Peter loves the disciples more than he loves Jesus, but it's actually about this stuff. "Peter, do you love me more than these? Do you love me more than the fish?" Well, that really is a weird kind of question. But of course, actually, for Peter, a fisherman, this is about his identity. This is about what he knows best. And what Jesus is saying is, "Peter, will you root yourself in me and your relationship with me? Will you allow that to define who you are and to give up everything else?" Now, that is a real challenging question for Peter, and it's a really challenging question for us as well. When Jesus comes to us and invites us to walk with him into the future, which his resurrection opens up for us, when he invites us to transition through his cross and resurrection from that kingdom of darkness into that kingdom of light, there's all kinds of things which are about gain as Christ gifts to us so many things. But there's also cost there too as well. It's also about giving up things, the things perhaps that we're most familiar with. But in this, It's actually about a way of life. It's a powerful symbol, those dead fish and that alive Jesus in front of Peter. And what Jesus is saying is, come on, if you're going to love me, you're going to have to leave some things behind in order that empty-handed and unburdened you can walk into this new life that I'm holding out for you. Do you love me more than these? Is a question which scratches at identity. It's an invitation to move forward, but it's also a call to leave some things behind. For Peter, that was about fish. I wonder what it is for us. What do we need to leave behind? Not in order to make ourselves miserable, but in order that we might become fully more who God created us to be. To walk freely with Jesus into those things that he's calling us to do, and more importantly, those things he's calling us to become. Each of us will have some idea what those things are now. And as we go through life, those things will change. But the question is still the same. As we seek to love God and through that to love other people, what things do we need to leave behind in order to do that freely? It's not likely to be fish. I certainly hope it's not curry. But what is it for me? And what is it for you?